What's going on, everyone? It is mailbag time here on Falcons Today. I have to hold my headset because if I don't hold it, this thing can't, stay up for more than 5 minutes like a 70-year-old man. And I'm on my second headset of the day, so just bear with me. We're going to power through this mailbag as I awkwardly hold the microphone next to my mouth so it does not fall down. Robert Kelly. Petey, I know that your favorite pick. Okay. I know that your favorite pick is cornerback. Got a lot going on. Will Johnson, if you select him, where do you play him? Outside and move Hughes to the slot? Okay, so basically what Robert's asking is if you select Michigan cornerback Will Johnson, where does he play? He is an outside corner. He is a man-on-man, like I'm going to be a kangaroo and box you from the moment that ball is snapped and the whistle is blown. He wants to be physical. He wants to play outside. He is an outside corner. So Mike Hughes could either kick inside, which I'm not going to pretend to know how well Hughes would play inside. I'm willing to have faith that, hey, someone that you're giving $9.8 million to should have some versatility to their game and be able to play nickel if needed. Willie M., what do you think about Gunnar Helm round 2? Too early, and I don't think Atlanta should go tight end in round 2. I only think Atlanta should go tight end is if in round 4, someone like Gunnar Helm, who they thought would be a round 2 to 3 guy, is there, and internally they have next to none faith in bringing back Pitts. Willie, thank you for your question. ZD Productions. So maybe I wasn't lying about us cutting Koo, huh? All I wanted was a new kicker this offseason, Petey. Yeah, Atlanta brought in a German kicker, Lenny Kreig, international pathway player pathway. He went 14 for 14 at the International Combine. He had a handful of meetings set up, and he just signed with Atlanta. Just first meeting is like, I'm done. Maybe theory, I've had a couple theories as to why he did not go visit with his other teams. Maybe he just has a fear of flying, and he's like, I'm just never going to leave here again. Once he learned how vast America is, I always hate when Europeans try to make fun of Americans. Like, you don't travel enough. Like, yeah, because do you know how far New York and LA are? That's like going from Paris to Moscow. So back off. ZD, thank you for the question, though. Jordan, we obviously need more pass rush help, likely from the draft. But how much do you believe in Bralen Trice to make an impact in his rookie season? Hey, Jordan, that's a great question because there is, I think, a lot of faith being placed in Bralen Trice's stock from this coaching staff to look and play like a third-round draft pick. I don't have a ton of faith, and we talked about this from a historical standpoint. You know I love my history. And let's say this is Bralen Trice's rookie year. There are very few round 3 edges who in their rookie season had more than 5 sacks. So I would expect Bralen Trice to crank out 4 or 5 sacks max. Jordan, appreciate your question. Very, very thoughtful. Dijon Robinson, what is the percentage chance that we actually pull off a Kirk trade? I'm going to put it at 85. I feel that the Browns are going to call coming. They're going to come a running. And some team in training camp is going to need a quarterback. So I'll put it at 85%. Dijon, thank you very much for the question. Jason, watch this. Ready? Just false. I'm talking to no one. Do you think that the Falcons are going to use Javon Gwynn as a backup center? I think he did that earlier in his football career, rise up from sunny San Diego. Jason, I agree. I do believe that the former 7th-round pick from South Carolina is going to be the backup center for Ryan Newsel, who takes over from Drew Dahlman. Appreciate your question, Jason. Very good thought as well. We've got another question coming in from a Seahawks fan, Michael Hyde. Sell me on it, Petey. Why would the Browns get another overpaid old quarterback in Kirk Cousins when they're still paying Deshaun Watson? Good question, Michael, and let me tell you why. One, they're not paying Kirk Cousins what you think they're going to end up paying him. Kirk Cousins has $37.5 million in cash owed to him this year. He's getting that money from somebody. If the Browns or any other team for that matter trade for Kirk Cousins, There is a 99.999999% chance. I sound like Lenny Kreig. 9% chance that the team that acquires Kirk is going to split that salary with Atlanta. And also, they will have a new reworked contract. They will tell Kirk, we would like to trade for you. You have a no trade clause, so you do have to remove that from the equation, but we're not going to take on 3 more years of Kirk Cousins. That's just not in the cards here. So when you get here, we're going to have a new contract worked out for you. And that's not uncommon. Last year, Stephon Diggs got to Houston. One of the first things he did was rip up his old deal and make it a 1-year contract. Deebo Samuel gets to Washington. One of the first things they do is make it a 1-year contract. This happens frequently with players that get traded. So I don't want you to think, why are they going to pay 2 veteran quarterbacks huge amounts? They're not. They're going to pay Kirk something for sure, but they're not paying him, I think, what you're thinking. Before we move on to the other questions on today's show, over at Fanatics, the sale continues. The sideline gear, 35% off, a whole lot more, t-shirts, polos, jerseys, chatsports.com/ATL sale. I put that link for you all in the comments and description of today's video. Nicholas Wolf, we free up $12 million in cap space till we have a couple more moves in us. You got to have $7 million in the bank to pay your draft picks. So put that money to the side for a moment. That gives you $5-ish million. You could sign someone. Like you could sign, say, Zadarius Smith or Von Miller and have room to breathe, but not a lot. I think those restructures were done to make it easier to pay your draft picks. And also, teams like to go into the season with a decent amount of, spending cash, some walking around money in case an injury happens and they want to sign someone. Worst case scenario, they roll it over to the next year. So I don't think those restructures were done to make a big splashy move. I think it was for the draft picks and for a little bit more breathing room. Duo, do you think the Falcons should fire Raheem if we don't go 9-8 or higher? Well, let's just assume everyone's healthy, because if someone gets injured, then that's going to give the coach a little bit of a pass. If everyone's healthy, like say similar to last year, right, and you have of your 22 week 1 starters, week 18 gets here and 20 are out there, and you finish the year 8-9, I could see Arthur Blank giving him one more shot. Arthur Smith got a second chance or a third chance after back-to-back 7 and 10 seasons, but he was working with a lot less. So that feels like a coin flip. My gut would tell me Arthur Blank would stay loyal for another year. That's somewhat been his tendency. Arthur Smith got 3. Dan Quinn got obviously more than 2 for the way they start, or after the start they got. But yeah, I'm going to say no. He will not get fired if they don't go 9-8 or higher, unless they really bottom out. Right? I'm talking no more than 6 wins. DJ Ray, who would be your top pick if the Falcons get a tight end and wide receiver? My favorite receiver in this class is Matthew Golden out of Texas. Started off at Houston, transferred to Austin, and I think he can play all over the offense. You can use him at X, Y, and Z. I love the versatility. He can play in the slot, but he can play a lot bigger than that. So that would be my preferred choice for any team looking for a receiver. I like Golden a lot, and I think that could complement outside receivers in Darnell Mooney and Drake London quite nicely. As for tight end, I wouldn't expect them to go with Tyler Warren or Colston Loveland, but I think both those guys are going to have very good NFL careers. So later on in the draft, Harold Fannin, very good yards after contact. He is just tough to bring down. Bowling Green State tight end. Carson, what are your center targets in round 4? Okay, thank you. Sorry. Center targets in round 4. Why am I drawing a blank? I wouldn't mind Tate Ratledge from Georgia. Guards and centers can get moved around a lot when they get to the pros. I think he's a fantastic guard for UGA. I think that could be a very good move for the Falcons. So get a Georgia player. It's not a very good center class, to be honest with you. There's no one talked about going round 1. Very few guys even talked about going round 2. So if you're looking for a new starting center, not a good time to turn to the draft to find one. Another question coming in here. Trey, are we expecting any mid-size moves soon? Probably not. Probably not. The only way I could see that happening is if players remain free agents longer than expected, and the Falcons go, hey, we never really poked this one or went down that rabbit hole because we didn't believe you'd ever be affordable to us. But here we are in the middle of April and no one signed you yet, and we're looking at our draft board and we really want a new nickel corner, and there's just no one on our draft board that we like when we were going to be on the clock roughly. So let's bring you in. But I don't expect them to give out a contract north of $10 million total to any player. Robert Walker, do you think we will trade back for another pick? I think you're going to have a tough time finding someone that wants to trade up. Every single draft, there are 32 players that go round one. That does not mean all 32 players are viewed as first-round talent. Typically, there are 20 players that get round one grades. This year's draft is probably closer to 15. So with Atlanta picking at 15, is there really a team that's going to want to trade future draft picks? Say, give up their second-round pick to move up and pick a player that teams look at as a second-round guy. You're using 2 second-rounders for 1 second-round talent. Does that make some sense? You're giving up your second in this year's draft to trade up to get someone who's looked at as a second-round type of player. So I'd say you have a tough time finding someone that is going to shake the tree to see if they can find the 15th overall pick. Yoga Buddies, who is your second rounder? I saw the mock. Who is the pick all Falcons fans should want? Yoga, great question. I really like both the Texas DBs. Jahdae Barron and why am I drawing a blank on the other corner right now despite him being my pick? I got to look it up. Makuba, the safety. Andrew Makuba. Sorry, both the names are kind of unique-ish. I like both those players. I like both those players because they both offer a ton of versatility. And I think with the rising role of nickel, because offenses play more 3-receiver sets than ever before. So defenses respond by predominantly only playing 2 linebackers and 3 safeties. So I think Makuba and Barron can bring a lot of versatility to your secondary, and that is very valuable to me for round number 2. Now, some people think Barron's going to be a round 1 lock. I'm not so convinced about him being a lock to go round 1, but I like both those Texas DBs, Jahdae Barron and Andrew Makuba, for round 2, Yoga. So cool 2025. If Kyle Pitts is still on the trade block, what would a trade package look like and what teams would be calling? I think you could get, it'd be a little dependent on how much of that 5th-year option Atlanta's willing to eat. If the Falcons tell another team, hey, we're not going to split this $10.8 million bill with you, you take it all, then a team goes, fine, then we're only going to give you a 4th-round draft pick. If the Falcons say, hey, we'll split his salary for you, they'll go, all right, if it's only going to cost us $5 million this year, then we'll give you a 3rd-round draft pick. So it'll be dependent on how much money Atlanta is willing to eat. I think they'd be willing to eat a good amount of it. That's never really been an issue for Arthur Blank. So I'd put it around a 3rd to a 4th. As for what teams could be calling, after free agency, a lot of holes have been filled. The Bengals brought back Mike Gesicki. The Broncos signed Evan Ingram. Those were 2 big tight end needy teams. One team, what about the Chiefs? What if they're like, you know what, we just want to get Travis Kelce's replacement right now? It could be Kelce's last year, and then they bring Pitts in, and then they just go right from Kelce to Pitts, and they don't skip a beat.
You don't think they like Christian Watson enough?
They might like him enough. But that's one team that comes to mind since the first 2 obvious candidates are no longer available. Travis, last question. Petey, looks like you dropped some LBs. What's your secret? Travis just became my favorite viewer. Favorite. I was going on to the last question. Secret. Secret is it's 95% diet. I don't exercise much at all. I'm not going to the gym for an hour. I'll walk to work. 3 times a week. But the secret is I have a lot of protein and not just meat, but predominantly vegetables, which sucks. Not going to try and say it's fun, but I eat like a rabbit. A lot of lettuce, a lot of cucumbers, broccoli, and cauliflower. And that's usually my lunch with a little bit of chicken for lunch and the same meal again for dinner. So it's a ton of protein, and most of that protein is vegetables. No alcohol, no sugar, no carbs. The first 2 weeks, miserable. After that, your body starts to get used to it, and it's not as miserable. But appreciate the question, Travis, or the kind words. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Enjoy the rest of your day. I can't wait to get a new headset, so I do not have to hold this for another video ever again. And I'll catch up with all of you later.